You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again today. And man, just like any other amazing show, we have a special guest for you all. We're going to talk to not just a leader, not just a business owner, but someone who has a powerful story. We're going to be talking to Mario Bekes. He is a great, amazing person that we're going to learn all about his business. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, sir, for coming in today. How are you doing?
Shamaya, thank you very much for having me today. I'm doing very well. It's a little bit wet in Sydney, despite it's summer. We have a storm past 2 days, but overall, I'm very excited, very happy to be with you today and having a chat and the interview.
And just real quick, if you want to learn more about Mario Bekes, you can go to mariobekes.com.au, and we're going to dive into what he does for a living. For the past 30 years, Mario, you have conducted various types of investigation in government sectors, Department of Defense, Department of Foreign Affairs, corporate and insurance sector in Australia and overseas, applying your knowledge, your expertise, and your academic research and training for investigative intelligence and investigative interviewing techniques. Man, that sounds like that's a lot of book reading, a lot of education background.
Yes,
thank
you.
So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how that became of interest for you.
Well, Shamaya, again, thank you very much. Thank you to all listeners of this awesome radio station podcast. I'm very grateful I have ability to talk to the people in US, and hopefully that my message is going to reach a few and, be inspired or motivated. I always say to people, Shamaya, that people be careful what they dream and they wish for. Because as a kid, I grew up in communism. There's no secret. And, born in poverty with the parents who were alcoholic and, they have the day modus operandi of living, all money you make, it's go for alcohol and their pleasures. And I didn't enjoy very much of the benefits of being the child, like in terms of, having the clothing or food. Everything was just finish the school and, get out of the house, which was understandable. Communism is a very great society. People, they don't understand how difficult it is to live in communism till you don't start dreaming about better things. So my way out of poverty was always being to work in some glossy department, B007. Unfortunately, I wasn't brightest tool in the shed, Shamaya. I was, petty criminal. I was fighting, I was being on the street more than at my home. And that resulted, 1986, my father on Christmas Eve decided to kick me out of my home when I was 14 years old. So it was a very chilly night, 20 degrees below. It's a Christmas Eve. And then lucky for me, my grandfather, who was second in charge of the Yugoslavian intelligence services, he took me under his wing and then started, grooming me to become an intelligence officer. So I started dreaming to become the intelligence officer in the army, right? Because that was escape. Military was always escape. They get a good pay, they've been looked after. And my path was leading to become the officer in Yugoslav Communist People Army. And fortunately, 1991, we experienced something what's called a civil war. So suddenly one day you're living under the one banner, one flag, motto, everybody, it's our enemy, including US, everybody, just Yugoslavia is the best. Suddenly I found myself to decide about my part in life, what I'm going to do. Should I fight for Yugoslavia? I was preparing to be the officer in the army, or I should fight for democracy. Yet again, Shamaya, my destiny pointed a finger in direction I wanted to go, not consciously. So I decided to fight for democracy, for the freedom, for the independence of Republic of Croatia. My parents, they disappeared again because they flew in Germany, if I remember correctly, as refugees. They left me the note on a table, we are okay. So me, 18 years old, I was dreaming about democracy and freedom. Translate this into I want a McDonald's, Coke, I wanted people where the people have a nice sneakers and everything. And being misled, what the war it is actually, I was believing that I'm going to be like a Rambo, like 3 days war, and I'm going to kill everybody, I'm going to be the hero, turns into 1,800 consecutive combat days in civil war. So that was my start, humble start in government service. And, one thing led to another. I was the guy who wanted more. And despite everybody telling me, you shouldn't, you can't, you don't need to do this, I stepped into different directions. So I've been educated in policing, investigations, interrogation, intelligence. And I end my military career, 98 in May, in the military intelligence security sector. And life again played a role because, as I say, be careful what you wish for. I was being recruited into foreign affairs. Then that was called Directorate 7, which was a Department of Foreign Affairs. It was actually Counterintelligence and Security Department, and I've been shipped into Australia a few months later after education in that field. So that was it there, 98.
Once again, we are talking to Mario Bekes here on I'm Refocused Radio. And that's interesting. So when you had the opportunity to make that transition from military life into civilian life, did you always have starting a business on your radar, something that you wanted to always do, or was something else leading you to the opportunity?
With all due respect, I was one of those who believe that world owes me. And I've been under the impression that everybody's going to headhunt me. Unfortunately, that was not reality. So my first job after leaving diplomacy and staying in Australia as a resident, I was a bouncer. And then I was a cleaner in night shift in hotel. And I point finger in everybody for me not being successful, rich and famous, instead of understanding that I changed entire structure of my life. First of all, I lost my purpose, which was, for almost 20 years in military, I had a purpose for everything what I was doing. I lost my team, I lost my goals, key objectives. So I learned the hard lessons. Until 2009, I had a beautiful marriage and, have the one son. GFC arrived. And what the GFC done to me, it's put me on my knees again after finally start working in corporate world after several years of struggle, working low key pay jobs. But as I said, they're very, very good because they teach you lesson to value your life and, push yourself through obstacles instead of crying and blaming everybody as I did. And I was doing this very well. GFC come and the same token, my son was being diagnosed with a medical condition. He started developing epilepsy. So my life was crumbling again. And there was a moment in my life when I realized that we have no money, we have no roof above our head. And only what's left, literally, was selling the toys of my kid. And that was the lowest point in my life. So I decided to start my own business. And, running your own business and starting, it looks very glossy, it looks very lucrative, and it looks very tempting. But it was a struggle for several years before I managed to leave my business. So in those several years, I lost quite a lot on professional and private life. And but I was pushing through all of this because I knew it. If I fall back and looking at another corporate job, what stop another GFC come or another crisis on everything else? So after determining what is best I can do, I decided to become the private investigator. Needless to say, Shemaya, that nobody want to employ me because I was a foreigner with a very shitty English, which was true. And I had no other choice than to work for myself. So I started doing my PI work with my worst marketing ever. Can you imagine me? I was printing Sherlock Holmes hat and I put my mobile number and I was sticking the A4 size, that printouts everywhere in shopping center. So just to get the clients. But again, it was a time of understanding the life, understanding who I am and what I want to achieve. And it was challenging, Shema. It was challenging, like everybody. Challenging is for you. For all of us, life is full of obstacles. But this time I was prepared, and mentally I was prepared to push whatever it takes. And it took me 2.5 years before I reached my very first ongoing client. And that was the moment when I understood that it is not only what you know or who you know, but how persistent you must be in a times of uncertainty. And, I was more hungry than anything else, but I was living in a car, in a garage with my friend. So, I managed to get my first client, and I was honest to my clients. I told them, I don't have fancy office or, fancy equipment, but what I have is my knowledge, experience, and I'm asking to give me opportunity just once. And if I don't deliver what I promise, feel free to go in public and tell everybody Mario Bekes is a liar. His company is not worth it, and don't do business with him. And I think that was a breaking point for many of my clients when I told them this, because I wanted to work. And once when I started working, everything was much more easier. Yeah.
Once again, we're talking to Mario Bekes here on I Am Refocused Radio. There's like 5 little points that I took note mentally as you were talking. And here's the 5 points I found very interesting. Structure your life, find your purpose, learn the lessons, value your life, and push through obstacles. I think those 5 keys is like the ingredients that you can use every day to reinforce what you want to do. Because the other 2 points you said about understanding, you said understanding who you are and understanding who you want to be. So there's a famous saying, know thyself. And in order for one person to get from point A to point B, they have to first make a decision and say, okay, this is the reality of where I am. But for you, what was the, not secret sauce, but what was your mindset and how you were preparing yourself to move from where you were to where you are now as a business owner?
Well, look, it was the times where I was it was difficult, right? And it makes me very emotional when I think about those times, because sometimes you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And what kept me going was a premise in my head that there must be more in my life than anything else. But if I can just go step back, what did change my view on life? In the time of desperation, we do desperate things. And for me, was that I walked into the library, Shemaya. And I was a great reader. And reading on English is a challenge for me. Then it was. And I walked into the library. And for the very first time, I walked into section self-help. I saw the book called You Can Do It. And, title, it looks very inviting. However, I made a laugh and fun of all of this. And then when I started reading that book, I'm even more laughed to the author and the words. However, 2 sentences, they are imprinted in my mind. First one was, he was referring to the movie Field of Dreams, that with the Kevin Costner and the baseball team. And they say, if you build, they will come. And the second one, it was that we are living life on an autopilot, which is true. But the moment when you start steering your life and being part of your life, you can expect in turbulences, ups and downs, and all these hurdles, which most of us we don't want to admit, right? So I truly believe that book changed the course of action and my thinking. Needless to say that in life, you're going to be served the people who's going to come into your life in a moment when you really need them, regardless they're good or bad. They give you either lessons or the blessings. And I believe that if you believe in yourself, nobody can shake that belief, Shemaiah, nobody. Doesn't matter what people say to you, people address to you. Nobody can shake your belief. If you don't believe in yourself, you'll not be successful. If you believe you're not worthy, nobody can change that opinion. And I always come back to the people. You can be inspired by external factors, but motivation comes from inside. It's your internal engine, which you need to continuously fuel and feed in order to push forward. And that's what I was doing. And, I will not lie to nobody and say, I was just a brave, I was a great guy and everything else. War is a most cruel thing. But in war, you have a certainty. You're surrounded with the people, you are sharing the good and bad. But in life is even harder to live. And in life, you can trust only yourself and nobody else. If you're relying on everybody else's help, you will face setbacks. That was my premise and my motto continuously. Mari, have only yourself. You can believe in yourself and steer your life as you're the pilot. Only that way you can go through the life without expecting or blaming anybody for your downfalls or successes equally.
I love that, because if one person can hear this and listen to what you're saying, it's up to you as the individual to steer your life and make the action that is necessary to better your life. So if you're tired of where you are right now and you listen to this right now, it's your opportunity to first realize the situation of where you are and say, okay, what must I do to change this? So speaking of that, you are the CEO of Insight Intelligence Group.
That's correct.
Tell us about your company and the services that you provide.
Well, thank you, Shemaiah, for asking me this. And again, thank you. Thank you, Shemaiah, for finding time for me to talk to you. I really appreciate it. Insight Intelligence Group, it was born 2003 in the midst of my, fighting the demons, believing that world owes me. So I had an idea to launch my company, which is going to be basically forefront providing corporate intelligence. That didn't happen till 2009. So I established 2003. I was working as a consultant, small jobs, and tried to push while I was working as a bouncer and a night shift cleaner. 2009, I have the clear direction in my head, and I found the key objective. That was to provide to clients with investigative solutions in corporate world, based on my knowledge, experience, combined with the knowledge I gathered in education in Australia, which was basically, I attended university here, so I need to gather some qualifications here, meet the people. So the company's intelligence, we're providing investigative solutions for the clients, which include factual investigations. Majority of those investigations we're providing for the insurance, banking, and the corporate sector overall, from the internal theft, workplace injuries, corporate espionage, fraud, which is a very, very, very big thing, and the cybersecurity, but not from the angle that we are providing protection of the internet and the servers, but I was lucky enough that after so many years, I've been in position to articulate message and convey the message that the strongest link in a life and a business is a human who is equally the weakest link. And, me as someone being educated in intelligence, in communism and later on in democratic, system in Croatia, it was hard for me to establish that connection between me and the corporate world, explaining to them that doesn't matter how much passwords you have or cloud computing or everything else, it is the human who entered the password and who is the subject of social engineering, which is basically creating the environment for the person to become entrapped and, talks freely and without knowing that they actually provide information. So that's a basic core of our investigative services. As well, we're adding on this surveillance services. And the surveillance is not need to go extensively elaborated. We're basically providing psychological profiling. I'm lucky enough to have on my team one of the very few psychological profilers. That's Lady Debbie. She's from South Africa. So we're providing that one as well services. And then we have that academy, which basically through my books and my extensive knowledge and as well other employees in my company, we're providing trainings for the corporations, how to conduct effective investigations, cost-effective, time-effective, including legal aspects. And I must give the pride on this one that they're really enjoying because it's a little bit more exotic because of my background rather than being just let's go talk about investigations. So this is our core businesses: investigations, surveillance investigations, psychological profiling, cybersecurity. It's a core of our business here in Australia and overseas.
And you also provide training as well.
Yes.
Do you still provide training on demand, or how do people learn about those options as well?
Yes, absolutely, Shemaya. What past 2 years taught us that world is the flat, not literally. I don't want nobody quote me, but what happened, working from home and people not be able to go into offices reduced the big aspect of security. And again, weakest link, strongest link, human. Training is necessary. So when I say the flat world means that we are being reached now from point A to point B via internet cable. You'll agree with that one. And fraud evolved exponentially. It's just become the new level. So training we're providing, it's not just based on historical data and the current data. It's following the trends, and the trends become very aggressive, and but yet become targeted specifically to the human to human. So not anymore machines, not anymore environments and everything else. So training is a crucial part and component of our business where clients can learn. And, if I may say, Shemaya, I apologize for our listeners. I provide on the video tutorials, which is for free, so people can see it. Just Google it, Mario Bekes, you're going to find them. They can learn the new emerging threats when it comes to the fraud, when it comes to the crime, and when it comes as well to the industrial economic espionage, which is basic backbone of every our training.
And once again, we've been talking to Mario Bekes, and like they say, time always goes by when you're having fun. But what would you say to individuals out there who are in business and they're in business for themselves and they're hearing this right now and they're like, man, this sounds awesome. What would you say to someone who is trying to scale up and not just remain as the starting point, if you understand what I mean?
Yes. In recent times, last decade or so, we hearing a lot about strategic thinking, strategic approaches. This is all beyond horizon. And coming back to the situation we have the past 2 years, working from home, COVID and everything else, I always say to people, if you want to be successful in business, if you think strategically, that requires more time, more resources, and more waiting period. Concentrate yourself on tactical approach, which requires more time, more effort, more resources, which is your local market. Your local market in US, you have a lot of states. So look at territories and the ways you can expand yourself in the places where you can physically reach, you physically can control, and you understand the local market rather than seeing beyond horizon and making plans for the future. I think it is, don't give up ever. Whatever you do, just do it. My father, when he passed away in 96, he gave me the best gift, even we never spoke, Shemaiah. So I want to say this to everybody who's listening. My father, before they passed away, he told me, I wish. And I asked him, what do you mean by wish? I wish I'd done this. I wish I said to him, but you're dying. He says to me, yes, I don't have time. Time is the most precious commodity. So use every minute. Expand yourself in territories you can reach by your car, by plane, without obstacles, on your local market, and believe in yourself, believe in your product. As you believe in yourself, everybody else is going to feel and sense your energy, enthusiasm, and every obstacle has a solution. That's my wording for your listeners, Shemaiah.
Well, if you want to learn more about Mario Bekes, visit his website, mariobekes.com.au. And like I said before, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today, because if you're listening to this right now, every obstacle, just like it says on your website, is a stepping stone. So with that said, I just want to say thank you, Mario, for your expertise and also for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, Shemaiah. I really appreciate it, Shemaiah.
I Am Refocus Radio is brought to you by Foo 4 Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4 Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.